Sometimes life lets you down and you feel that you are done. You just want a morning run because the fun is all gone. But sometimes life makes you proud when you look far and wide, when you leave the pain behind and see the brighter side. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you.
The new channel. The new channel.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello. Are we here? Are we live? Let's give it a shot anyway. Why not? I hope I'm being heard this time. Anyways, welcome back to the Foreign Affairs. Just had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we are back. And if, as I was saying before, maybe it didn't come through, I'm happy to be here for the second episode. Last week we had a great premiere. I talked to some people during the week, give me some feedback, also some words of appreciation. Luckily, no one put it down, so I'm just glad to be here for a second episode. But we got a lot more great foreign issues coming your way, and today's going to be no different. About 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to meet the following guest. It's a gentleman from Australia who has lived in various countries. Currently owns one of the 24-hour gyms here in the country. One of the top end gyms, I must say. And but he also has a crazy backstory in that he began in his career and is professionally certified and trained as an animal trainer. So he's gone all over the world and worked as an animal trainer. So I'm excited to welcome onto the show today, Mr. Matt Lowe. Matt, you there?
Hey Lee, how you doing? You can hear me, right? Lee. Hello.
Oh man.
Hello.
Can
I
you
can
hear me?
Well, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Right?
Hey,
It's
thanks for having me,
2020,
Lee.
baby.
How are you?
I'm good.
Gotta love the technology, hey?
Gotta love it. Yeah, it's kicking in so well. We're getting everything we
works
pay
so
for
well in
right now.
practice.
So that's the best part. Yes. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Matt, I hope you heard my introduction. It was very brief, very general. So please, my man, explain first of all explain the background. How first of all the Philippines. How long ago did you get here, and what you've been doing since? Quickly, and then let's get into the animal training, man. Let's jump over into the wilderness for a while.
Okay,
So
well,
please.
let me explain how I got here. Okay, so I was doing an animal gig in China at the time, and when that contract finished, my wife Charlie, she got a job here in the Philippines. We moved to the Philippines. At that point, I didn't have any work or any contract here. But after being here for a little while, I saw that the Philippines is the land of opportunity, and there were numerous opportunities to capitalize on. Oddly enough, when we were back in Australia, gee whiz, I'm thinking probably 3 years prior to coming to the Philippines, my wife, who's lived here in the past, she was saying, "Oh, Philippines would be a great place to do a 24-hour gym," because I had 24-hour gyms in Australia as well. And I said, "Yeah, I took it with a grain of salt, because unless you've been to the Philippines, the perception, I think, is perhaps it's not as obvious that there's so many divisions here. You think of it as third world, but there's a strong middle class, and there's a very, very strong upper class as well. So when I got here, I saw that there was already an existing gym here, and that already blazed the trail for 2 years. So there was already a proof of concept, I guess you'd call it. And I thought to myself, along with my wife, I said, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's create our own franchise and do our own gyms. We know how to do this." And the rest is history. So here we are.
Right on. Yeah, well, I got to say, I've personally been to your gym, tried it out, and I have seen the other options that are around. The other options are solid. They have great facilities and whatnot. But I gotta say, you've definitely taken it up a notch, in the sense that the quality of the machines, the quality of the equipment, but also like your spacing. And your location and your utilization of space. Like, go into a little bit of that. What little new touches on some of those designated areas that I'm specifically speaking about that you have?
Yeah, well, Lee, I've been in the gym industry for quite a while now, and I've always liked gyms, so I've got a pretty good idea. I like to think that I know what people want. Quite often you go into gyms and there seems to be this invisible line between the cardio area and the weights area, or the cardio area and the so-called stereotypical girls area. And a lot of the girls don't want to cross that line into that dangerous area, which is called weights. So what I've tried to do in this gym is I've tried to blur that line where, would you believe it, there's actually a psychology around actually how you lay your weights out in your gyms. And you can inadvertently create these lines if you don't know what you're doing. So what we've done is we've blurred those lines where people feel comfortable in coming over to the weighted areas. All the weights, also the machine weights, have instructions on them, shows people how to use them. My personal trainers and my staff on the floor, their job is to engage with people and help them out to do the exercises correctly. We've also created areas such as a Les Mills area. Do you know what Les Mills is? Anyway, I'll tell you. Les Mills is an area where, it's a world-renowned dance class, fitness class. We have Les Mills trainers there. We have an area just dedicated to that for pump class, step class, yoga. It's got its own sound system, an enclosed room, all glass, soundproof. Outside that area, got a functional fitness area where people can do their group classes with their battle ropes, and they push the sled and the ball, and they can do things together. We've got a boxing area. We've got a TRX machine. TRX machines, basically, when you do weights, you're basically pushing against the weight. TRX is the reverse. Have you ever seen those ones where people are holding the rings and they've got to pull themselves up to the ring? So if they're laying flat on the floor, they pull themselves up. Yeah. It's what's called, it may sound boring now that I say it, but it's a concentric and an eccentric movement. Your muscles are used to working mainly in a concentric way, and when you reverse it, it shocks your muscles into growth or weight loss or whatever it happens to be. So in saying all that, I've got all the equipment and all the activities that I think that every gym should have. And certainly from our little bit of market research, that's what the market's demanding. They just don't want weights. They just don't want cardio. They just don't want to get dance class. They want it all. And that's what we've created in Get Fit 24/7.
So you're seeing a lot of like kind of hybrid, fusion of different practices that the people demand. What are the main ones you see that are being responded to most heavily in the market now that you've put it in place? What's getting the most requests?
It's interesting. It's an interesting question because, so from a business perspective with gyms here in the Philippines, I would have to say it's vastly different, say, to my experience in Australia, just due to the cultural differences. So what people are requesting is more group activities. A lot of Filipino people, specifically the women, but not just the women, but as a majority rule of thumb, they're not going to come to gym by themselves. And they're generally intimidated by the weights. They want to do group activities that revolve around mainly dance class, step class, or if they want to do the battle ropes. This isn't things that they're going to do on their own. So a common question that we get is, do you have classes? Can I hire a personal trainer? Can I train with my friend? Can I bring my mum? These types of requests that revolve around community, family, and friendships is the requests we're getting, and that's certainly what we've catered for.
Right. Yeah. And then, let's jump over to the elephant in the room. So now we have this pandemic that's hit with lots of restrictions. Your facilities, unfortunately, had to be closed down. And,
yeah.
And it's been in the last 3 months or so, it's been this stop go, or kind of like, do we jump now or not type of thing, right? Where you've been dealing with the different government restrictions. Talk a little bit about what that's been like that. We know, it can't be easy to have closed it to begin with, because you want to get, the movement, you want people working out, you want people having, feeling better about themselves to begin with. But also, so now that the pandemic hit, what was it like with this new part where the government was installing new quarantines every 2 weeks. What was that like?
It was a nightmare, Lee. It was just a can of worms, and it wasn't so much what the government did; it was more the way the market reacted to what the government did. And I understand the intention of the government and what they were trying to do, but the perception, I think, within the market was one of fear. And what that did is it stopped people from wanting to come to gym for the fear of the spread of COVID in gyms. Now, my understanding is that there is not one case or where COVID has spread in the gym. There has not been one recorded case of that. What's really difficult is to get people back to the gym with the understanding that what's going to help in the time of COVID is going to be a strong immune system and a good diet. Now, through coming to the gym, people are building a strong, healthy central nervous system and an immune system. They get the advice that they need through the personal trainers to be able to correct their diet, to give themselves the best chance possible of being in this COVID environment. That's not getting seen anyway. That's not getting reported, and that's putting a cat amongst the pigeons, and it's not healthy for certainly the fitness industry, and I don't think it's healthy for people either. And people are scared because the rules keep changing. The goalposts keep getting moved, and people don't know what to do. So what they end up doing is they do nothing as a general rule of thumb, which isn't good for anyone.
Right. And as a company and a movement, have you guys started thinking about possible next steps in terms of ways to get people out of the house, get them in the gym, or if you want to expand on any ideas or ideas you had during the quarantines about keeping people in shape?
Yeah, we offered as a business, we offered some online fitness to our members with Get Fit. So we had a special group that was exclusively available to our members, and we had a roster around that where people would be able to remote in and they'd be able to do their exercise under the supervision of the trained professionals of Get Fit 24/7. But that sort of went okay, but it didn't catch on as well as what we would have liked. I mean, the reality is, this is the reality of most people, and people are people all over the world. The reality is that most people, if you give them something for free, they generally don't capitalize on it. But when they've got to pay for it, they say, well, gee, this owes me money. I'm going to get to the gym. I've already paid for it. I've got to get to the gym.
Right.
And that's most people's incentive. So what we've done, we have we've appealed to people's, I guess, fears and insecurities about this whole COVID, and some of and the social distancing, so the space around them and other members. Well, we're the largest 24-hour gym in all of the Philippines. Space for us is not an issue. We've got over 1,000 square meters of space. We have a cleaner on full time whose job is to clean every little touch point throughout the gym that members or staff would or could touch. And that goes on. We're staffed at the moment from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We've decided to do that just simply because we don't know what's happening in the market. As you mentioned before, it seems to keep changing. So even though we're open, we're a 24-hour gym, we could be closed next week. So it needs to be financially viable for us in order to operate. So certainly 8 to 8, just to put our toe in the water, is a good certainly a good test of measure for us at the moment. But going back to appealing to people's fears, from 8 till 8, and extend, we'll keep them on for longer as well.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things about the entire pandemic has been what's not known, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's everyone can talk about it being a virus. Do these things. To do these things. To stay away from here. Social distancing, but no one has any idea about exactly where the transmission, points
No.
are. How long you should be in quarantine, how long you should be out. And when it comes to business, like the thing what you're talking about right now about how, your perspective on how do we manage our gym and how do we manage people coming back and how do we manage people when they're not coming back, what can we provide them? A lot of business is not only based on just trying things out, but it's also based on known formulas, known structures, known applications that you can throw out and then get a result. But like when you don't know what the conditions are, and then you're periodically being restricted from any condition, it's like, you're all set for the basketball game, and then they're changing the hoops around every 5 minutes.
That's right.
Like
Moving the
3-point
goalpost.
lines moved out 10 more feet,
Yeah.
brought in 20, and then you're like, well, so even if you had an offense to run, what can you say?
You put things.
I don't know.
Well, you put things in place to try to appeal to people's concerns, and you also meet government mandates. But as you say, when that changes, it actually creates more bad than good, because people get even more nervous because it was this, now it's not that, now we're going to this. So what is it really?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And then what that instills also is something no one's really talking about, both in business and outside of that with this pandemic, is the after effects, like the built up, fears, phobias, hesitations, inability to act because you're sitting there going, wait a second, am I going to, get infected doing this? Am I doing this? When you're stuck in that kind of world, worrying about those kind of things, then, it gets to a point where you don't have you can't get out and just run, and that's what people need to get to, is where they can just run,
Yeah. And it's definitely a perception thing as well, because, you would have seen it as well. There's numerous people walking around with the masks on. Let's just say the cloth masks. Well, when you breathe into those, if you do have virus or whatever, your breath goes in there, it gets held. They're supposed to be washed every day. More often than not, that's not getting done. People need to go and get food, so they go to the shopping centre and they stand in long queues. And we've all seen it. The social distancing at shopping centres is somewhat questionable at times, and people don't seem to, as a general rule of thumb, have a fear of not keeping these things in check. But when it comes to, say, going to gyms or restaurants or fitness centers or whatever, I mean, we were talking about golf before. They're even cracking down on golf courses. I mean, can you get any more social distancing than a golf course?
It's built into the sport. It's baked into it. That's the essence. Keep your distance.
Exactly. But again, comes down to perception, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So moving forward with the gym, all we can really do is do our best, meet the government mandates, try to appeal to easing people's fears and concerns about coming to the gym, and the rest is just going to have to play out the way it plays out. I mean, what more can we do,
Yeah. No, definitely.
It's a tough situation.
I remember back when you had recently opened, and any new business, their whole goal is, hey, we need to just get some time under our belt. We just need some flow of people, flow of cash.
Yeah.
If you're not getting that, and then beyond that, like there's like the different seasons in a business where you want to build up, the residual, and you want to build up the return clients, and then you want to build up their residual influence of clients, and then, and then become a stable name.
Exactly.
Like this is basically cut the top off so many trees. I don't really know what kind of fruits are going to come out after, to be honest.
No, and you're right. It's not just our business. It's across the board, and there is a massive domino effect that's going to play out as a result of this. How this will recover, I'm certainly I can't predict the future on this, but I think we all know it's going to be tough to recover from this. Not just my business in the fitness industry, but businesses across the board. I mean, in the Philippines, how many places have you seen where they've just had the inside of their tenancy painted white? They're not there anymore. They're gone. It's scary. Yeah, it's scary. It is, and that puts fear into people as well.
Yeah, totally. And what else has happened too is it's funny because like you hit something like a pandemic, you learn what the needed services are and what the recreational services are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all that recreational got way cut back, right?
Oh yeah.
Now you're sitting in the limbo of not knowing if recreational will come back. And then you got the rubber band effect where a bunch of people are, I haven't had my recreational for months. I need to get back on it. Right.
Yeah.
And then you're straddling a line with the gym where, you're a need and a recreational. It has very much a recreational reputation, but it serves a huge need, which is mental and physical health. Right.
Oh, exactly. You're on the money there. And part of our issue that we can't control is that what's been put in place now is a 50% work capacity, and where 50% of people stay at home and work. So of our gym membership, if they can't come into the city, they've got to stay in the province and work. Well, that puts a big dent in our business. We understand completely that it's not their fault. They've been told, don't use public transport, work from home, don't come into the city. We get that. It's not their fault. It's not that they're doing it on purpose. But the fact of the matter is, it is what it is, and we need to be able to deal with that somehow. How we deal with that? By cutting our membership in half? Who knows? I'm only speculating, but possibly that. Who knows? But how to deal with that? I don't know, mate.
Right. Again, there we are hanging out in the unknown. Not even educated guesses being made right now because you just don't.
No. Well, there's nothing tangible to hang on to.
No, I'm not a chemical biological warfare professor or scientist. I don't know the first thing about COVID transmissions.
If you were, we could start a business together.
Yeah, I mean, I just started. Last year I just started sneezing into my shirt. Finally, I'm just taking baby steps here. Well,
that's right. It's funny now. You start hiding if you're going to sneeze or you're going to cough. You don't want anyone to see you, like it's a taboo now.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing I got a mask on. Let's just be honest, man.
Yeah.
So hey, we're gonna break out to our first commercial. But when we come back, let's go wild. Let's talk wildlife. Let's talk training
let's
animals.
do it.
I gotta hear some stuff on this, man.
I got some stories.
Let's cut to a break. You guys are watching the new channel. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back. Hello, welcome back to Foreign Affairs. I'm Lee O'Brien, your host. Before we get back into more conversation with Matt Lowe, as you guys probably are aware, or maybe don't know, this is not the only show here on the new channel. This new channel has been around for since the beginning of the pandemic, and it has grown at an incredible breakneck speed. Currently, there are more than 15 shows now on the network, some of whom have just come in the last month, like here, us at Foreign Affairs. And I want to share with you right now some of those other shows that you should be definitely checking out. You guys tune into The Big Picture, sharing inspiring stories of notable personalities, Monday to Fridays at 7 p.m. We also have the HR Hotline, Everything Human Resources, introduces us to the wonderful world of human resources management, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 1 p.m. We also have an insightful Saturday afternoon because the family business is everyone's business at 4 p.m. The Fourth Project is about life, business, and success stories live from Dubai, UAE at 6 p.m. or 10 p.m. Philippines on Saturdays. Usapang Beauty, one of the more popular shows right now, is about beauty beyond what your eyes can see, Thursdays and Saturdays at 5:30 p.m. The world has faced an unprecedented pandemic. Time to hear positive testimonies straight from those who recovered from the disease. We got COVID stories Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. Discover your life purpose and learn from others' turnaround stories by tuning in to U-Turn, Mondays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. The Home Buyer is where you hear remarkable stories about building and owning a property, Mondays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Laugh and learn through the Pappet stories, Mondays, 5:30 p.m. I hope I got that right. Pappet or Papet? I'm not sure, but let's go with the Pappet stories, Mondays at 5:30 p.m. Magbenta bumili at tumulong dahil bukas na ang TNC Marketplace, an online night bazaar, Thursdays and Fridays at 10 p.m. or for all the Tagalog speakers, Jueves at Viernes a las 10. YOLAO is for all of us to understand that law is fun and cool too. Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Watch and learn about money and more streams live in the Philippines and the U.S. Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Philippine time and 5:30 a.m. California, USA. Two leaders and one platform, TNC The Talk, Mondays at 12 noon. After Shift is chillaxing show about your choices and lives after work, Wednesdays and Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Discover and learn strategies on self-leadership to win in life through Win Within, Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Dream, Achieve, Nurture, and Inspire. Tag your kids along and watch Danny Art Show, Fridays at 5:30 p.m. Something for the kids. Because health is wealth, Healthline on Wednesdays and Fridays at 4 p.m. More upcoming shows such as Awesome Day, Women at Work, Cyber Next, Text You, and GGNO, or Good Girls Night Out, GGNO. My bad, that's the first time for me. Catch also our TNC original shows such as One Day, an inspiring 30-minute storytelling. It alternates with TNC Town Hall, co-hosted by the TNC founders, Lloyd and Apple. This show is where we talk to you, our valued audience, about our shows on TNC. More upcoming TNC shows that will truly inspire you. And of course, global issues, common interests, learn together across borders. You guys are watching right now, Foreign Affairs. It streams on Tuesdays at 10:30 a.m. And also make sure you follow our channel on Facebook and YouTube. Look for the new channel and hashtag See the New You. So there's more than just one show on this. There's a bunch of great shows here on the new channel that you can tune into. Let's bring Matt back in. Mr. Matt Lowe, please return to the screen now.
There we go. Perfect timing.
are.
Had time for a coffee too.
Yeah, you like the magic tricks?
Yeah. How good
Side
are you?
hustle, magic?
Whatever it takes.
So,
Whatever it takes.
You know, wear more than one hat. That's, you know, that's key to life, right?
Don't we all?
So-
Don't we all?
Don't we all? Man, let's get wild. Let's get wild on it. So you are a certified animal trainer. The list of animals is crazy. I got to ask, how did you get in? Like, where does someone start animal training? What happened? What were the left and right turns that ended you, that took you to become an animal trainer? Talk a little about that.
Wow, I get that question quite often. It's a little bit different now, but certainly when I started, when I was quite young, I was probably, 15, 16 years of age. I was still at school. This is in Australia, and I would volunteer my time one weekend, a day out of the weekend every week, where I'd go into SeaWorld and I'd volunteer my time, and essentially I would be just doing the crappy work. I'd be cleaning buckets and taking fish around and doing all the stuff that people didn't want to do. I was the lackey boy, right? So I did that for probably, I don't know, I guess over a year collectively. And there came a day in school where I wasn't actually the best student at school. So they said, Matt, I don't think there's any need for you to come back next term. And just and coincidentally, SeaWorld said, hey, listen, when you finish up school, do you want a job here? I said, I'm finishing up now. And they said, come on in. So I came on in and I started at the very bottom. And in order to be an animal trainer or an animal behavioralist, it's about knowing the animal. So what people see generally is people on stage or in movies or whatever it happens to be. They see people with the animal, but what they don't see is all the behind scenes work, such as you need to be around them. You need to be able to anticipate what your animal's going to do or what their personality is like. Some are aggressive, some are friendly, some don't want a bar of you. They're all got their own personalities, and you can only get that by spending time with them. So by starting at the bottom and doing what would consider to be the crappy work was inadvertently probably the best learning lessons I had in the animal industry, because I would have to clean their pens. They know I don't have food. They're in around my feet. Some animals don't want me in their pens, in their enclosures. I need to know how to not intimidate them, need to know not to show fear, any form of aggression, need to know how I can mingle with the animals as well as part of their pack, flock, herd, whatever you want to call it, depending on the animals that I'm dealing with. And then I just worked my way up from there over the years. That's how I got into it.
Right on. And so how many years were you in Australia doing that?
Oh, gee whiz. I was did that for probably maybe 10, I guess 11, 13 years. I was training dolphins, whales, and sealions, and penguins and seabirds at SeaWorld there for, probably some of up to probably 13 years. And then I got to the point, I had enough of training marine mammals. I know that sounds odd when it comes out of my mouth, but as good as it was, and I had a great life, they're still my favorite animals to train. I felt at the time I needed something different. So I decided I would take the training skills that I had, or the animal conditioning skills, and I would make that applicable from an, or I'd train, those bats, those big flying foxes that would eat the fruit. They've got huge wingspan. You may know of them.
Wow.
I think they've got them here in the Philippines too. Those tiny little sugar gliders that just eat nectar, that jump off a branch and they glide. Train those things as well. And I fixed up the cages. I did it, all the cages, and they lived in were, I guess you'd say, they could be brought up to speed. So I found out what the standards were for those particular animals in zoological institutions, pushed those down or extended on the others, brought them all up to spec, put them all on proper diets. When I say proper diets, it's a bit like people. Depending on what you do, whether or not you're a high-end athlete or you're just a couch potato or you're just a normal person with a normal metabolism, you only need X amount of calories a day in order to survive. So people get on the waist and they say, oh, I'm a kilo over, I'm a kilo under, I'm half a kilo too much, I need to cut back on my food. But unless you weigh animals, you don't know that, right? So the animals need to be weighed weekly in order to make sure that you're maintaining their condition, whether it be summer or winter. I mean, where I'm from on the Gold Coast, in Australia, we much only have summer and winter. We don't have anything else in between. So
I'm hearing a bunch of different species of animals here. We're talking
yeah,
about, both aquatic, land, flying, land-based, walking.
mm-hmm.
How does a trainer is it you get into one animal, it's a gateway drug to all the animals, or is it like, do people go through focuses of just the water-based, or how is that process? Like, how did you come to, what is the process, and how was your process so that you were doing so many different varieties of animals?
Well, this was my process, and I don't want this to come across as an arrogant perspective. Point where I had trained everything I wanted to train, and managed all the social groups that I wanted to manage when it came to. I just felt I wanted more of a challenge as well. So branching out into other species allowed me to take the animal psychology that I'd learnt over those years and to apply it with a slightly different application. For example, you can't train let's say I was going to say a dolphin, but let me put it in what most people are going to be able to relate to. You can't train a dog the same way you're going to train a bird. The two,
right?
That one's got a flight and flee response, and the other one's you can basically manhandle. How many people do you see grab their dogs and they push their bum down to get them to sit, and that's how they train? Well, you can't do that with a bird. So, but the training psychology behind in getting the same, the application's going to be different. So, in answer to your question, I felt that I'd gone as far as I could go at that point in time for my own marine mammal career on the Gold Coast, and then I decided to branch out into native animals where I could challenge myself a little bit further. So that was the mindset around that.
And in order to get to so you sit there and you go, okay, I want to start going after, I want to train a dolphin, or I want to train this group of birds, or I know I'm hacking the name, I'm not giving due respect to the animals, but when it comes to what I'm trying to understand is when you're if you're sitting there and you're working with dolphins, and then you're like, you know what, I want to work with falcons next. Do you go find the falcon guy, or is there trainers around you with the dolphins who have that experience too? What's the road look like for trainers, in terms of moving on to an animal? Do you go find that falcon guy, or do you?
Well, it's an interesting question. I guess I've never really thought of it like that, because I've never had that outside perspective. When you're in the industry, it's relatively small, so of other people or colleagues, I guess you'd call them, / friends who are in different animal industries. So most people in the marine mammal industry, but that branches out also into zoological institutions and people that look after terrestrial animals and avian animals and things alike. And then you just get talking to them and say, I see you got a little show there, and they say, oh yeah, we just got a little presentation, and the keepers here, they just keep the animals and they put them on their hands and they show them, and everyone comes down and gets a little pat, and that's pretty much the extent of it, because that's all they know. They're keepers. They're not behaviorists. So I would put forward a proposal and say, well, why don't we put together a bit of a presentation? And you need to be careful with the words you choose as well in these realms, because if you call it training, people don't think animals should be trained, so we call it conditioning. And you say shows, people think we don't want to show our animals. If you say presentation, it means something different, but it's just semantics, and I had a bit of a challenge when I went into the zoological institution doing my training animal conditioning. They say, why can't you just leave them in their pens and leave them alone and don't train them at all? And I said, here's what you don't understand. I said, you're training the animals and you don't even know you're training the animals. They said, what do you mean? No, we're your own thing. I said, let me tell you. I said, you turn up at the same time every day. You walk past the enclosure. You get the animals excited. They can see that you're coming. You go to the pen. You clean the pen. You take the food dishes away at a certain time. You go to the prep room. You make up their food. You feed them at a certain time. I said, inadvertently, that's training. You're conditioning the animal's response, and then you're reinforcing it. So there are numerous times with animals where you would have seen it when it comes food time in zoos. There is always one or two animals at the front that get the most food, and all the other animals stay behind, because around food there is and can be a time of aggression where the dominant animals get the food. Now, unless you're skilled in the area, you're not managing that situation, but you are training it. You are training it. You're reinforcing those dominant animals by to be aggressive against the subdominant animals, and you don't even know you're doing it. So what I'm saying is, here's the fact of the matter. The fact of the matter is they are in an enclosure. They are in captivity. So why not actually learn some skills, learn some conditioning, and to be able to manage that population much better so they can have the best life possible? That's where I was coming from.
Right.
Makes
yeah,
sense.
That's very interesting. The higher that hierarchy, obviously the most famous we could talk about is probably who's our friend, the guy with the dogs, Cesar. Right.
Cesar Millan, yeah.
So like he's always like, for example, the one thing, I've seen a few of his shows, and the one thing that he seems to hit on is, who's the top dog and who runs the show, and like, so people kind of know now, like, oh yeah, if you go into a group of dogs, there's one that's running the show, and he could be the little Chihuahua, or he could be the big dog, Mastiff.
Exactly.
You don't know, right?
No.
And like to think, who knows what that whole, obviously, but the rest of us who aren't involved in, and I think it's really interesting too. You bring out that point about the terminology. When you think about it,
very much so.
Yeah, training when you think about it, if you know some historical reference, it's got a little stigma with, hey, jump through the circle and jump through the rings. And,
exactly. Of course.
Circus acts.
Of course, and that's what people are. They certainly shy away from, but it has had a bit of a bad rap, and some of it's probably justified as well, because if you look through a little bit of history, and I don't think we have to look back that far, there were some animals that weren't treated that well in that particular context, that's for sure. But then again, you could say the same thing about, it wasn't that long ago, certainly in our lifetime, when you look into zoological institutions, and they were a bit, how's your father as well, they were a bit, they were pretty ordinary. It's, look at some of the European zoos or the Asian zoos, or, it's only as of recent years that these zoological institutions have started to come up to spec, not just in the size of their enclosure, but the utilities within the enclosure that they need, and also some of the needs these animals require, such as not just cleaning up animal crap and feeding animals every day. That's what a keeper does, but a keeper also in today's day and age encompasses so much more. Yeah.
All righty. Well, hey, let's break. We're gonna hit another commercial break, but let's come back. I got questions for you, specific questions. So we're gonna take a break.
Line them up.
Thank you again, Matt, and we'll be right back here to the new channel. Thank you, everybody, for watching the new channel. This is Foreign Affairs. I'm your host, Lee O'Brien. And let's bring Matt back in. Matt Lowe, open chair. Sir.
We're back.
There you are.
Now, you said you had a
There you
whole
is.
bunch of questions.
I just have the long grocery list. It's about get ready. I wish I could do a speed round, but internet connection won't allow that. So
I've probably heard them before. Fire them at me.
So let's get down to business. Question. Let's go back to our talks about opening the gym and working the business climate here. What's one solution? Do you think what's like one move you think would help the business climate after this pandemic? What do you think?
Well,
Any.
in my personal opinion, I don't think it is a one thing. I think I don't think it's as two-dimensional as that. But let me just try to put it simplistically. I think, and if I can, I'll just say two things. One, I think, is people need to come back to work. I think having 50% work from home, I think that needs to change. That's going to help the economy and help people out if they can come back to work. Second of all, to give some cold hard facts on social distancing and also how you contract the virus, to give people hard facts that they can count on, that doesn't instill fear, it instills confidence in people.
Got it. It's great. It's great. So honest, like straight up, which you don't have to expound on it. It's just a simple option A or option B. What do you prefer to train, animals or humans?
Animals. Every day of the week. Every day of the week.
But the thing I kept thinking about is like, do you even go like get a pet dog or cat anymore? Do you even bother doing that, or do you just prefer dolphin or saber-toothed tiger, or what is is it just it's just way below your base scale skill set, or do you still like dogs? I don't know what's
I do. I love dogs.
That?
We got I don't know if you've seen our dog actually. We got we got three dogs. We've got a little white fluffy thing, and I got this thing that's half a horse, a big English Mastiff here. She's 78 kilos, and we got this little rat as well that we rescued, a little Aspen or at the doorstep, and now apparently she's become part of the family. But in having said that, let me take that as an example. When we're talking about social orders, that order works good. You know, those dogs together, they had their little teething time, but you know, we were talking about before about the whole Caesar Milan and being thing. Again, dominance got a bit of a yucky connotation to it. It's got a poor association with it because dominant people think of as being oppressive and pushing things down, and I'm being the boss, and it doesn't matter what you say. That's not being dominant. That's the wrong definition. In a pack situation, dominant is about having a pack leader who is confident and can lead the pack the right way. Not scared, not intimidated, can make the right choices. That's what they follow. I mean, have a look at a dog situation or a wolf situation. Very rarely does it ever come to blows or fights. Very, very rarely. They just follow a pack leader who can feed them, keep them out of other animals' territories, willing to keep them safe and sound. That's dominance.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Very, very keen commentary right there. I love that. So kind of like bringing this back into Foreign Affairs, the show.
Sure.
What do you think, like, you know, now that you've lived abroad in China and you've lived here in the Philippines, and you and I have spoken, you know, at length about, you know, dealing with the new environment, the new society and new country and culture. What do you think, like, what do you think from working with animals and whatnot? What were some things you learned that you've been able to apply when you had to approach the scene of a new culture and new country?
The thing that stands out to me when you ask that question, it would be ignorance. That's what we're very blessed in the sense of where we grew up. Having pets was quite a common thing, right? You had a dog since you're a wee little lad, or some sort of pet, and you were taught to look after that.
Yeah.
That's just how we were brought up as part of our culture. When I traveled to places like certainly China, the Philippines is a case in point as well. Mexico is not dissimilar as well. They're just not privileged enough as a culture to have pets and treat them as part of their family for numerous reasons. And the highest ranking thing is probably economics, you know. So coming around and talking to these people and saying that these dog, for example, a dog
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
I definitely, and also going back to the point about the economics, the privilege, you know, we also grew up in places where we had the comfort and convenience to be able to arrive to look at a pet as a member of the family and look at it as something to be responsible for. Whereas, you know, sometimes in a lot of countries and a lot of cultures, they have just way more pressing issues.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, there's some things up on the need chart that are way more important.
Yeah. Like feeding my family. There's one.
Yeah.
You know. So, and also the other thing, you know, that probably might curb people's opinion of dogs, for example, or family pets, is that in some just to keep them away so people don't get bitten. And I think that carries on through the culture, that's how you treat these animals. And again, that's a general rule of thumb, because I know some people here, I know some people in other countries that I've lived in as well, that's not the case. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about a general rule of thumb as a culture, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Finally, man, let's ask. I mean, there's the elephant in this room. If I've got a guy who works with animals, the trainer, the guy who knows, you know, how to guide animals, how to keep animals, everything, give me a straight, honest cut on the Tiger King. What was your opinion?
Psycho. If you want to know what bent is, watch that. He's like a dog's back leg.
Like as someone who has worked in the industry, like how did you could you separate yourself and watch these people as a third party, or was there a, you know, industry connection there where you're like,
no,
damn, like
there is nothing. What he does and what I do, wouldn't mix, you know. And I got a few mates and mates of mates, mainly in the States, that it's just, they just got weird laws over there where if you've got the money and if you can build the enclosure to meet the standards, you can have whatever you want. You can have tigers, bears, wolves. Sky's the limit. You can get whatever you want. But what they don't throw into the mix is you've got no way, you don't understand on how to look after them. And then when they breed and they breed again and they breed again, let's just take tigers, for example. Where the hell do you put those? It's not like you can release them, and the
No.
zoological institutions have got
No.
enough. Nobody's buying them.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Right.
There's like a total
Right.
mismanagement of the stud, a total mismanagement. It's I think that was a real eye opener for a lot of people. You know, that crazy. Gee whiz, if I could swear on this show, there's only one word that I could describe it as.
Yeah. Like that. I think like the basis for my question was it comes from the fact that when I started watching it, there was so much that I was anticipating about, abusing animals and how we've seen so much, animal
Yeah.
captivity and the abuse of animals in the last decade, 2 decades, how there's been this kind of big shift into wanting to not keep in captivity whales and dolphins and tigers and all these things. And then, just like they become the show, like they're the attraction, and the animals get almost in a sad way forgotten, right? Because you're just sitting there going, wait, this guy did what? On top of what?
That dovetails into a word that you used just before, which is very interesting, the word abuse. And this often comes up in my circles of conversations that I have with people. And people see that as abuse. And you know what? It is. It is a type of abuse. But imagine being able to have, I don't know, let's just say a dog in a cage all day that does absolutely nothing. Or let's say you've got an intelligent animal in an enclosure and all it does is sit there, get fed. Sure, it's got lots of room, but it always sits near this door here because it knows that's where the food comes out of. And that's all it does day in, day out. It gets no stimulation whatsoever. It doesn't get to express its cognitive ability or anything like that. That's another form of abuse. Let's take dolphins out in the ocean, and let's say in Miami, for example, where they're not supposed to feed the dolphins, but the dolphins get fed next to the boat. So the dolphins get the majority of their food from people feeding them, trying to get a photo, and they decide not to go out and hunt wild fish, live fish, as much as they should. That's another form of abuse. I think people, when they use the word abuse, I think they keep moving the goalposts too.
Yeah. All righty. Well, there you got all my questions, man. I kept them short. I'll save these other ones for later.
There you go. I
just have to have you back.
Mate, good to be back. And happy to answer any questions you've got. Let's do it again sometime, hey?
Absolutely. Look, I'm giving you 2 minutes. Hype up the gym, hype up your stuff. Go, sir. Tell the people all about you.
2 minutes?
Where they can find you.
We're Get Fit 24/7. We're the Philippines' largest 24-hour gym. We have got all the latest state-of-art equipment. We've got over 1,000 square meters of space, so social distancing is not an issue. There's more than enough space. We've got all the machine weights. We've got all the free weights. We've got boxing bags, push sleds, functional fitness areas, hot and cold running water for our showers, soap, shampoo supplied. As I said, we're a 24-hour facility. We charge monthly. Bring some friends and family. Obviously, now is the time for the discounts. You can get in there, get your discounts. Where are we located? We're located in Market, first floor on McKinley Road. Can't miss it. Huge big window that's got Get Fit 24/7 up there. Go in and see my manager or go down our Facebook. Contact me directly if you want. My name's Matt, or Aldrin is the manager. Hopefully, you guys will come on in, and we look forward to keeping you strong and healthy. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you too, Matt. Appreciate you being here, brother. And thank you again for being on the show.
Hey, no worries at all. We'll talk again soon, eh?
You bet.
Good on you, Lee.
Take care, mate.
Take care. See you, mate.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that was great. Really interesting stuff. And I love seeing that part of Matt because I hear about all the training but I watch firsthand what he's doing with the gym. So I know what that whole success, struggle, endurance has been for him, and some really interesting ideas and concepts brought up today. Great episode. Thanks again to Matt. Guys, go check out getfit247.com.ph. It's right there at Market Market, right in that drive around for the cars. It's right there on the corner. You can see it upstairs. Great facilities. I mean, amazing facilities. Like, these are top notch, great conditions. So when things ease up, definitely go check him out. And also today, thank you guys for hanging around despite the technical difficulties. We're going to get working on that, make it better, and make sure you tune back in here every Tuesday, 10:30 a.m. Philippine time. That's 7:30 p.m. on the West Coast, California, and also 10:30 p.m. on the East Coast. So thank you guys all again for watching Foreign Affairs. Appreciate it. You're watching the new channel, where we're here to help you see the new you. Thank you, guys.